Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another GameDay Squad live stream. We are here to talk about round 10, do a little preview, and I'm joined by special guests. We've got Ross and Supercoach DR joining the show today, fellas. How are we going? And we're keen to preview the round that's about to be.
Thank you very much for having us, mate. Extremely exciting to be on with you tonight. I've absolutely loved the experience so far. I'm not quite an expert yet, so I'm still learning the game. But every week that I play, continue to enjoy it, mate. Been a big fan of what you guys have been doing. So an honor and a privilege to be on. Roscoe, good to see you as well, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm really loving the GameDay Squad experience, and I have been on one of these before, which was very exciting. But now hopefully able to share a much better squad with all of you this time around and get some good chat going about who we think is just going to go off this weekend. I've got a few in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fellas, you know, as I said, thanks for taking the time out of your night. What we're going to do today for everyone that's either listening or watching along is this. We're going to have a look at some of the big ins and outs with the lineups that have just dropped. We're going to talk through, Ross has prepared some of the big players he thinks he's about to explode. And if you haven't seen what he's doing at third man up, it is legendary stuff. So definitely go over to X, some of the socials, give them a follow because they give you some insight into who they think will be the highest scoring players for the round. And what we do here at GameDay Squad is to try to set the best squad we possibly can every round. Because as you know, we've got unlimited trades. You can put any player that you own their player card in to your squad. We'll go through some of my rankings. I'm sure you'll have a lot of stuff to say about them. It's become a weekly sort of joke around here that my rankings stink. So feel free to do as you please. And then lastly, we'll have a look at our squads in their entirety. We'll see who we're going to be starting, who not. So without further ado, boys, what do we think? Are we ready to rip in?
I reckon.
Well, let's get into it.
Well, first game tonight, we have the Suns and the Hawks. And without too many spoilers, I actually don't have anyone playing in this game. And I feel a little strange about it. I almost want to start someone because I don't like watching footy without having at least someone to cheer on. I don't know about you fellas.
I'm a little bit the same. I've been sucked into starting who we refer to as the Noah Coaster, Noah Anderson. Some weeks you love him,
yes.
Some weeks you don't love him too much. But I'm a little bit with you, mate. I just want to be invested in tonight's game. So I'm actually going with Noah Anderson. I'm guessing he's going to be a little bit of a pod this week. So a bit of a lone wolf move, I think, for me, Tommy.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, look, nothing too big. Scrimshaw back in, which might help Sicily out in that defense. But other than that, pretty pretty standard in terms of game day squad. For the Swans, my Swannies, goodness, we need to win, fellas. We've got Armadi and Laddams coming in, Pittonet, Boyd, and Carroll for the Blues. On the other side, Maynard in, Myercheck in, Pendles in, Darcy Moore, Schultz, and Markov are out. Crows are rolling with the same squad from the last round. With the Port game, honestly, not too much going on here. I guess the big news is Kane Farrell is out. Defenders were looking pretty good in this matchup against Geelong. I have a good feeling a lot of people will be starting Connor Rozee with a lot of confidence. Next game, Giants and Freo. Bedford in, Jake Stringer's out, Banfield in for Freo, but not too much else going on there. Next game as well, not too much going on with the Doggies. Essendon, pretty standard lineups on that side. Jaden Short comes back in for Richmond. I know that out being. Did you boys get stung by it by any chance last round?
No, I didn't.
No, stayed away.
Luckily, yes, because the community I know was in a bit of shambles trying to manage the Jaden Short news that came very late. Zach Fisher in as well for North. Bit of a pod there. Lions, Melbourne. Kadeen Coleman in. Now, we had a conversation about this last round, fellas. What do you think? Does this impact Dane Zorko's fantasy value? Because we know Dane Zorko sort of had this license to just do whatever he pleases in that Brisbane defense because they are so elite and he can just run around and be their main ball user. Do we see maybe that changes a little bit because Coleman has a very good leg and they're going to want to get the ball in his hands as well?
DR, I think I'll throw it over to you as the resident Lions supporter.
Yeah, look, this may be a little bit of hope here, boys, but this is what I'm thinking. Jasper Fletcher's been playing down back for a few weeks now and been playing the role really, really well. He's really versatile, though. I know Fags has said before that he sees him long-term as an inside midfielder, and he thinks he'd be an elite inside midfielder even. We've seen what he's done on the outside, so what I'm hoping, fellas, is that maybe Fletcher will find himself back on a wing. Kitty will be able to find himself down back and really not affect Zorko too much because Fletcher's been playing really well, and I don't think that that's seen a huge effect on Zorko, so I'm hoping that will be just a bit of a replacement there. Although they are slightly different plays. He's more that damage by foot, whereas Fletcher's more of that run and gun type player. So it can help Zorko in a way, having that one less run and gun type with Kitty in there. I'm hoping, but again, it could go the other way. I'm sure that Zorks will lose a few of his kick-ins. So even as a Lions supporter, it's really hard to tell, but I'm hoping that Fletcher could be an important piece to go out and just allow Kitty to come back in.
Love it. So almost shifting some of the personnel there and maybe not impacting the fantasy potential too much. At least that's the hope for all the
That's
Zorko.
the hope, mate. That would be the hope.
That's for sure. And the last game, West Coast Saints, this is going to be a game that normally, Ross, I know for you, love your Saints, but I wouldn't be watching this game, but I have so many players in there. So this is what I love about fantasy, because a game like this on a Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be so red hot for. I cannot wait to see how this one goes down.
Yes, I've certainly got a few players from one team in this game, my Saints. Anyone out there who's watching, I'm looking for a bronze Ryan Marich. If you have a bronze Ryan Marich, please drop a comment, and we will negotiate to make a trade for him. I want him. I don't know if I want to watch without him.
He wants marriage. He wants marriage. And for anyone that is following along, we are going to be answering any questions. So if you do have any questions for round 10, please drop them. We've got some experts here with DR and Ross from Third Man Up to answer them alongside me. And also, we'll be doing a couple pack giveaways. So anyone that is new here that hasn't signed up to GameDay Squad yet, we do it a little differently. We use player cards. So make sure, if you haven't, we go round to round. We do have a seasonal element, but we just focus on round to round fantasy. So it's never too late to join in on the fun and build a squad with us. So if you do so, drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And also we'll have some pack giveaways and maybe some players as well that'll go along with that. Well, alrighty. Ross, I think you're going to take it away from here, mate. We're going to have a look at some players that you've highlighted as being some of the big targets for this round, especially in terms of game day squad. So we'll flick it over here. And I touched on Connor Rozee before. You agree, which Cal
Yeah.
is a resident Port fan. He's going to love to hear this news. Talk to me about this and the three players that you've got up here and why you think they're gonna play so well.
Yeah, look, I think starting with Connor Rosie, I'm just really, really, really keen to have him across both my squads this week. Playing against Geelong at home, his halfback role, as you were saying before, Tom, is just gold across all formats of fantasy. And Geelong are the third easiest matchup for what we refer to as designated kickers in AFL Fantasy Supercoach. They don't really put much work into the halfbacks. And I think that if Geelong are going to tag anyone with Atkins or Mullen, they'll send him to Butters. So I think Rosie will probably just run around on his own doing whatever he wants. I'm not sure if they'll win, but I don't think it'll really matter playing at home. I think he should just get lots of the ball and score really, really well for us as he has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Initially, when I saw this role change, I thought it was going to be a bit gloomy for Connor Rosie, but D, I don't know about you. He has just excelled in that role, mate. I couldn't have seen this coming and him to just come into that spot, even with Farrell playing, and to be so elite. And now that Farrell's out, there's just going to be even more reason for him to get more involved and just dominate on a week-to-week basis.
Absolutely. I didn't see this one coming. I thought it would be that three-pronged midfield with your Rosie, your Horn, Francis, your Butters, a little bit of Drew thrown in there.
100%.
But hasn't he been playing well in the role? And I don't think they're going to change it anytime soon, mate. So I really like the Rosie selection. And I'm with you, Roscoe. Don't currently own him. So, again, if anyone wants to throw a Rosie at me this week, I will take it with open arms, my friends.
I think I've got an extra one I might be able to hook you up with.
I've got Wood. I've got Mason Wood. So,
love
to
we could be talking.
How good. Well, take us through the Big X. He's started this year a little slow, maybe, especially considering how well he finished 2024. But he looks to be back, mate. Talk to us why you're so keen on him versus Richmond.
Yeah, look, I know compared to some of the other rucks, you got your Gorns, your Camerons, your Englishes. His scoring across other formats doesn't necessarily translate the best to GameDay Squad. But I just think I can't look past the matchup this weekend. Playing against Nankervis on the MCG, I think Sherry should just be able to have his way with him. She'll be able to outrun him around the ground, get to the contest, all that sort of stuff. And I've seen it over the last couple of weeks what Gorn was able to do to Nankervis, what some of the other rucks were able to do playing against him. And I just think Cherry's finally finding some real form, some real big scoring, and he's one that I'm definitely keen on for this week.
Oh, yeah. And, the numbers would actually indicate that Richmond's quite a plus matchup for rucks for the year, although Nankervis is quite great. I agree. I think he's going to be good, and we'll get into some rankings of mine later. I'm very excited. And someone we spoke about earlier on, Big Dane Zorko, Kadeem Coleman's back in. Talk to us about what you're expecting with him being at home against Melbourne. Yeah,
hopefully Kadeem Coleman actually ends up sort of as an emergency and goes through the VFL. I think they play Sunday, so there is still a chance that he could get chopped if he's on the bench. But regardless, I'm willing to have Zorko again. Look, he scored 168 and 153 in two of his last three games on GameDay Squad. And that makes it very dangerous if you don't play him. If you fade him, I know there's been a few people in the Discord that have just been absolutely fuming because they're just not playing him or they're expecting him to get tagged and he's just coming out and dropping huge scores. The Ds, similar to Geelong, they're a team that don't really put much effort into the halfbacks. Neil or Dunkley would be a tag target if they chose to go that way. Playing at the Gabba as well, I think Zorko just has that license to roam and get a lot of the ball, and it makes it a no-brainer to pick him.
Mate, love it. DR, I'm going to pull up a comment here. Fez says, collection behind him looks very impressive.
Oh, thank you very much, Fez. Yeah, I actually collect 80s cartoons action figures. So for anyone that was born in the 80s, your Master of the Universe, Thundercats, Ninja Turtles, Inspector Gadget, Ghostbusters, all that sort of stuff. That's all the stuff that we see there behind me. So like GameDay Squad, Supercoach, the collecting, it starts off as a hobby and turns into a bit of an obsession, as you can probably see. So no more collecting for me, mate. Don't have the money for it, but a lot of dusting required. So thank you very much, mate. It's been a labor of love, Oh,
how good. Let's get into your next set of three here. We've got some pods for round 10.
Mm-hmm.
Some big names as well, loving it. So talk to us about big Jesse Hogan versus the Dockers.
Yeah, look, with Jesse Hogan, you either get a really good or a really bad. I'm hoping this week can be another really good. He scored 161 on Geelong last week, kicking 7, and he got 148 earlier on when he kicked 9. So I'm just hoping against Freo, who are really struggling back at home at NG Stadium, I hope he can kick another 7 and just go big again. That's sort of really all that I'm banking on. Just a gut feeling that Freo might struggle to defend him. He's in hot form, and hoping that he can sort of be a real good point of difference. What do you reckon?
Look, form is definitely something he's in. DR, what are you thinking about Big Hogan?
Well, I think Hogan's a sort of pick that can actually win you that weekly round. You've got to take a bit of a gamble here and there. And you've talked about it many times. Just the bronze squad, when players score well enough, can take you all the way. So I don't mind Hogan. I haven't looked too close into him myself, but if it goes right, I doubt too many people will be running with him. So you could be in with a big shot Roscoe if things actually go well. So I don't mind the move at all.
Well, look, one of the top 10 performers from last round, and he had, 7 goals and 161 GameDay Squad fantasy points. So when we give a couple of extra points for anyone that plays other forms of fantasy to people who kick goals, which sort of brings key forwards a bit more, they make it a bit more relevant with GameDay Squad. And for someone who can kick a bag like Hogan, my goodness, it's going to be a big score if he can have another day.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully you can do it again.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Rowan Marshall, actually, for those who don't know, the highest averaging player in GameDay Squad across the 2024 season. So it's weird to say that he should be a pod. But I think sort of with the amount of really good ruck options that we have, as I'm sure you'll see in the rankings later on, I think he's probably one that not many people are considering, although coming up against West Coast, I think, it sort of incentivizes us to pick him a little bit more. He scored really well against DeConing last week, and rucks have just been going really well, playing against Flynn or Bailey Williams. Take your pick. So even though he averaged really highly last year, it's a brave call to take him over Gawn, Cherry, English, but it's one that I'm willing to make this week.
Yeah, it is a big call. There's some really spicy ruck matchups. And look, the thing is, it's as you mentioned, it is weird to say he's a pod, but he's only averaging 105 fantasy points per game, and that's almost 30 points less on average per game than he had in 2024. So I'm completely hearing you, agree with you, and I think a lot of people might be looking at Marshall against West Coast and thinking it's time to start him with some confidence.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully he can get up for a big game and we can get the win over the Eagles. But on the other hand, Ryan Marich can also touch the ball as many times as he likes. As long as I get one of them, it's a second plug I know now. As long as I get one of them, he can do whatever he likes. He's taking the kick-ins. McGovern's out again. And St Kilda last year, I know particularly, were not really paying much attention to defenders. I know Zorko, Bailey Dale put up some big scores against them. And Marich's scores of 110, 129 in his last 2 weeks are just sort of decent, but I think it's his forward status is what actually sort of makes him a bit more relevant. We've got a lot of high-scoring defenders, and even though he is playing a defensive role, being able to pick him in the forward line is something that is really advantageous, and hopefully he can go well again, even though it is against my Saints.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, your Saints have been leaking some points to defenders this year. I know he's a card that you really want for the round, and man, he's been a shining light and he's an emerging star. In all honesty, for West Coast, he's been really, really good. And I actually don't have a bronze either. I do have a silver, so I am going to start him. But for my starter competition squad, I'm unable to play Ryan Marich currently, and it stings a little bit. It hurts me. I'm sure, like it hurts yourself, Ross.
Oh, geez, we'll poor Tommy over here. Doesn't have only got the silver, is it, mate? Jeez, poor Tom, mate. Jeez, I'm scrambling for some of the basic bronzes here, boys. Jeez, I tell you what, first world problems with Tom up here.
Oh, big time, mate, big time. And for anyone that's following along, I've been dropping some pack codes into some of our socials, so I'll drop that off the screen. If you go run around, you'll be able to find some player pack codes that you can punch in to your GameDay Squad account to then hopefully maybe get a Ryan Marich. You never know. that could be your call to get our emerging star. But fellas, let's get into some rankings. I sit here every round and I have a look at the top 10 for defenders, mids, and forwards, and then my top 5 for rucks. I have this little lock emoji, and these are just players that I'm unable to fade because they're just too good. And Zorko and Whitfield have been in that pretty much every single round this year. So I won't harp on too much about them. But Sheasel's now come into, for the first time this season, into this role. And the big reason for me is this role change of him going back to the halfback is just money. It is the absolute best thing that could have happened for him. Unfortunately, maybe to the detriment of someone like Caleb Daniel, who was really playing extremely well to the start of this year. But Harry Sheasel on the halfback loves a kick, loves a cheap possession. And you know what? I love starting him with confidence when he's doing that. So they're my 3 locks for the rounds. Any disagreements there at all? Am I missing someone, mate?
I'm not going to disagree. The only thing I'll say is I've heard a little bit of talk just in the last day that Sheasel has been training a little bit higher up the ground.
Oh, no.
Slightly worries me. I look at Fisher coming in. I've got that slight little bit of concern there, but I surely he's got to be a good pick. Surely they've got to continue in this role. So it's just a little bit of caution just to throw out there, just in case. But
That's
overall, mate, cannot really disagree too much.
100%. George, you are most welcome for the pack. There will be some more where that came from as well. So anyone that is following along, make sure you're keeping your eyes peeled in some of the comment sections. I'll be dropping some more. But let's talk about your Saints dynamic duo and Wanganeen Millera and Sinclair. I think they're about to have some nuclear performances. They have one of the most positive matchups for each of their positions. Sinclair, we know rolls up a little higher and can sometimes get involved in the midfield. That can only mean good things in this matchup. And that just is going to free up Wanganeen Millera as well to be sitting down in defense, just become the player and the superstar that he is. I think they could be 2 of the highest scoring players for the round. So for this round in particular, they're quite high in my rankings. And I think you should be starting this tandem with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be starting both of them in starter and in classic with platinum versions. So I'm pretty high on them as well. Hopefully they can get up to a 150 or something like that, and I can take that 1.3 times. That'd be really lovely.
Yeah.
I just think the matchup's really positive, and it did hurt me last week when they didn't go as big as they normally would.
Yep.
But most weeks, normally it's a pretty safe pick. I'm fascinated that you don't have the lock on them, though.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, maybe they deserve it for the round. But I tried to keep my locks to a minimum. You'll see later on, some may only have 1, some may have none. But yeah, you know what? Valid. I'll take the criticism. They probably should.
I like it. I think the other thing is you're almost handcuffing those halfbacks from St Kilda as well. Who else is going to distribute that ball out of the halfback? It's going to be one of these 2, isn't it? So I really like the pairing of those on field like you've done, Roscoe, and that old handcuff strategy. Just get both of them this round, particularly with the matchup. And that's another thing I love about Game Day Squad. You got to look so closely into the matchups. That's just another element of strategy to the game, which is what I like what you're doing about your setting up your squad as well, buddy.
Mate, DR, you're spot on. With not having restrictions in subbing in and out players per round, it really is about that, looking at the key matchups, who you think is going to explode. And the next player on my list is Nick Martin. Now, he's had a bit of an up and down season. I feel like we had an adjustment period with a role change. He was playing off the halfback a lot last year, hence why he's a defender. Now he's playing a lot higher up the ground. But one thing that I really, really like from Nick Martin is that he had 100% game time in the last game against the Swans. This guy did not get off the ground. And, when you just have that sort of opportunity to play for your team and essentially never come off, that can only mean good things. And I think over the past 4 games, he's done this twice. And the only times he hasn't done it is when he had a bit of a niggle or a hit and was pulled off because of it. So it looks like, similar to Goulden at points last year, we might be seeing Nick Martin playing 100% game time for the foreseeable future. And, I think that eliminates a little risk that you have with some of the players where you don't know if they're going to come off, how long they'll be off for. But this guy's going to stay on the field and dominate.
It's amazing, isn't it? You'd think he'd be a key position player looking at that tog, but for a player of his position, I think that's absolutely nuts. And he runs
Oh,
hard
mate.
as well. It's not like he just sits behind the play. He gets on his bike, Nick Martin. So his tank must be absolutely elite. And I don't think it's anything too educational to say, but the longer you're out in the field, the better opportunity you got to score. Pretty simple, I think, mate.
Absolutely, mate. Totally agree. But look, he just covers the whole ground. And that's, as you mentioned, the most impressive part. Number 7 might be a little hot. So feel free to come in here. Absolutely roast me after I'm done. But Jake Bowie, I think, is a real smoky, not only for this round, but for the remainder of the season.
Ooh.
A lot of people in GameDay Squad have been starting Christian Salem, and there's a big Salem push at the moment saying that he's the number 1 guy. Well, I actually beg to differ. I think Jake Bowie for the remainder of the year will be a better fantasy performer than Christian Salem. And maybe it's hot because Salem's had some nuts games for the season. But I just think the role that they're playing him in, he's never going to get sort of any attention. They're not really going to look at shutting someone like Bowie down. If anything, they'll go to Salem. And Salem actually plays a little bit harder in defense. He's sort of more man on, and Bowie just doesn't do that. His role is phenomenal. And I'm starting him with a bit of confidence this round against the Lions, where I expect a lot of ball to be down in their defense and potentially a lot of opportunity to score due to it.
Yeah, 100%. He's only dropped below 100 twice for the whole season so far. And while he's sort of tapered off the last couple of weeks, I'm just looking here. He scored 131, 147, 135
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
across the first 4 games of the season. Now, I have him silver in Classic, and I'm pretty big on him as well. So hopefully you can bounce back to that. And, hopefully your prophecy there can come true for the rest of the
Doing
season.
something right, ladies and gentlemen. The boys are agreeing with me. I don't think I've ever had anyone come on and agree with me this much. So you know what? We'll take it for the defense. We've got a lot to go, unfortunately. So there's definitely going to be some room for criticism. But Ash, Dale, and Short, all really good options as well. And it was actually really hard to bench any of them. I think there's a lot of positive matchups in this round. And this is one of the line groups that I probably struggled with the most because there is so much upside. So many players, as you mentioned, Ross, before, are playing so good out of the defense that we're almost too spoiled for choice some rounds. So unfortunately, you've got to make some of those decisions, and they just edged out this round for someone like Bowie.
Lovely options, mate. I think you've done that really good.
All righty, let's get into my midfielders. I've got one lock for this round, and it's going to be Jordan Dawson. He's coming off one of his worst performance for the year, but going to the MCG, versing Collingwood, I think he's going to bounce back, and he's going to bounce back in a big way. And my goodness, the Crows will need it. He only scored 90 fantasy points last round, which is very underwhelming for someone that has a lock on them, especially. But for the season, he's proven time and time again that he can perform, and I'm hoping this bounce back will be the start of a roll of good performances for him.
Yeah, here's hoping. I actually don't have him in at the moment.
Oh, no.
Which is where the disagreements may start.
It's all falling apart for me.
I do have him. So I might have to reconsider that. I just think I've got a few higher than him that I really want to get in. So,
look, with my track record, I wouldn't reconsider. I'd stay to your guns here, mate, and keep it going. But after this, I've gone Dacos and Rosie, and I really struggled between 2 and 3. Maybe Rosie should be at 2, in all honesty. But Dacos is another player that was pretty underwhelming last round. A lot of rounds this year, I've had him as a lock. He's only coming off an 82-point performance. Got the hard tag against Freo, if I'm not mistaken, in round 9. In round 10, I just don't know who's going to go to him from the Crows. Maybe someone will tag him, and if that happens, then this could be a really bad decision that I make for my squad. I almost am a little nervous for it, even having him at number 2, just starting him in general. But if he's not tagged and he plays at his best, there's no doubt in my mind he could be the best performing player.
Yeah, no doubt. I watched him absolutely carve up my Lions not long ago. He seemed a little bit sore to me the last couple of weeks. No, he had a bit of a pec issue, they were saying, but I believe he's back closer to full fitness. And even if he's not at full fitness, Nick Dacos is a bit of a different beast at times, isn't he? So I don't think there's too many bad weeks for Nick Dacos. And as you mentioned, mate, if you can get off the chain, I think he could do a fair bit of damage. So I don't mind Nicky at 2.
Nice. Now, I just don't know who's going to run with him. And that's sort of what came down to it, is in starting him with a bit more confidence. Ross, you perfectly summarised why everyone should be starting Connor Rozee this round, so I won't talk about that too much. I know you're in agreement with me. I think he's about to go nuts. And Cal, as I mentioned before, I'm going to have to hear it from him all weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. Tommy Green, though, some players or some coaches maybe not as confident in Tom Green. I think he's finally sort of turning the table for me. He's coming off two of his better performances for the year with 124 and 153. He had 103 that week before that, but then 120, 128, 139. So his run of like 6 or 7 games has been back to some of the best and sort of the 2023 version of Tom Green that we all saw. 2024 probably wasn't what we expected, but I think he's coming back into form. He's coming back in a big way, and it's not a very positive matchup that Giants have. It's against Freo, if I'm not mistaken, which their midfielders usually do a pretty good job of neutralising others, but I think he's going to be a little too much to handle for them this round, and I see him going pretty big.
Yeah, I think Freo are going to struggle this weekend. I have been sort of saying that they needed to bounce back. I tipped them last week against the Pies when the Pies were very undermanned. They need to bounce back. You know, they played against us 2 weekends ago at Marvel. They needed to win. You know, we couldn't sort of let them have that. So when do they bounce back? I don't really know. I'm just not sure if they're that good. And no Hayden Young. Brayshaw and Sarong are not the type to put attention into midfielders. So
absolutely
as a group, they might try and shut him down, but I don't think he'll cop a heavy tag.
If anything, Bedford's in, and I actually expect to tag the other way for either Caleb Sarong or Andy Brayshaw. So hence why I've avoided the Freo boys in my rankings at the moment. I don't know who it's going to be. It'll be the luck of the draw, but if you pick the wrong one, it's going to really hurt you for the round. So if you are starting one of those Freo boys, make sure that Bedford isn't starting on his hip and shoulder once that ball goes up.
And the other thing I'll say, just add quickly to Tom Green, is last week had a really nice kick to handball ratio. He can often use the hands a little bit too much, but the fact he got on the foot a little bit more, thought that was a good sign. So if you can do a little bit more of that, I'd be pretty happy to see it, mate.
Oh, we love to see it. That is the probably the one thing that frustrates coaches more than anything else, especially how we allocate 4 points to a kick here on GameDay Squad. That ratio, when it starts going the wrong way, can really impact the ceiling score. And he's also been hitting the scoreboard. He's had 3 games in a row scoring a goal. So if he's doing that, he's back. I'm on it. Josh Dunkley, though, one of the safest plays. I don't really have him as ever being one of the top scoring players for a round, but he just delivers time and time again. You just never really see Dunkley play that bad. And in rounds where I thought he wasn't playing that hot, he still ends up getting about 125 points. And if that's your sort of floor score, then, mate, if you just need a safe pick to put into your midfield and you're unsure, Josh Dunkley is the perfect candidate in most rounds, and especially this one, finishing off at home in a Gabba as well.
Absolutely. Likes playing Melbourne. And you said it perfectly. He's that safe as houses type pick that you don't think is going to absolutely blow the roof off and give you an absolute blinder, but he's not going to give you a bad floor score. And he does all the little things well, that defensive pressure, tackles help to add to that floor. So I think he's a really nice pick right there in the middle at number 5. I like where you've got him there, Tommy.
Sometimes I have a knack of just trying to get too many sort of home runs or grand slams where I just need to be getting on base, as they say. I just need to be putting my best foot forward. And this is one of the moves. I'm trying to turn the page this season because it hasn't been going all great for me, but maybe Dunkley gets it started. I've got a different mindset, and my 6th pick here, Marcus Bontempelli. Man, he looks like he's on cruise control and he's just dropping bombs for scores for fun. I'm a little nervous that he's going to get some attention this round, but even still, he can push forward. He can be damaging. I just see him as a player that is so dynamic that it doesn't matter sort of what they throw at him in this game, Essendon. I still think he's going to deliver. And they've got a pretty red-hot midfield right now with Libba and Ed Richards playing fantastic as well. So there might be too much to keep their eye on, and maybe they don't go to Bont. But as mentioned, even still, he's been scoring 120, 130 plus every round other than one. He's played the 4 games. He's looking better. He's looking fitter. And he's just edged in at number 6. And all those mids other that are there behind, really hard not to play Butters with Rozee coming out of the midfield. I actually think he could have a good game this round. But just edged out for me. I don't know. Geelong Cats have been leaking points to mids. I don't know if that's a bad decision I'm making here, fellas.
Well, I don't know. I think he might get tagged, Zach Butters.
You did say this before.
Yeah.
And that opens up the door maybe for even Jason, who we'll touch on a little later. But Taranto has such a good matchup. Really hard to not get him in there against North. Zachy Merritt's just similar to Dunkley, but can have those ceiling scores, but can also probably drop a little lower than what Dunkley will. And then Andy Brayshaw, because if he's not the one that gets tagged, he could sneakily be one of the better mids for the round. And I'm a little nervous at having him at 10. Because if he's, as mentioned, if he's not tagged, he should probably be in the 6 with his form.
Absolutely. It could go either way with Andy. I think it's obviously going to be him or Sarong, isn't it? So if it's not Andy, you're a big winner. If it is, look, you can probably churn out a half decent type score, but I wouldn't be expecting him to go the moon or anything like that.
For sure. We'll quickly fly through the rucks here. I agree that your 2 rucks you mentioned before, Ross, actually my top 2. I've got Marshall and the Big X. I think they're going to be the best performing, real safe. One thing that is interesting, though, is the Big O, I think, is he question? I think he's starting, but we've heard throughout the week that he's battling a bit of soreness. He's had an injection throughout the week. I don't know what he's looking like, whether he's going to be playing, his sort of normal role or whether they're going to rotate someone through. So this might be a real horrible decision. I've got one of the most informed players in Max Gawn sitting at 3, and we can only start 2. So this could come back to bite me, fellas.
Ooh. Roscoe, I'm finding it really, really tough. Just quickly with Big O, I've heard he's a bit of a week-to-week proposition with a bit of a mystery sort of injury, I've heard. So that, that doesn't feel with great confidence, does it? But if he starts, I think it'll be more of a tag team between the Big O and Darcy Fort, maybe give him a little bit less tog. But either way, I think an injured Big O or against Darcy Fort, it's going to be very hard to leave him out. This is the biggest decision for me with my squad this week. It's obviously 2 out of these 3, but trying to nail it down to 2. I'm with you. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Not starting with Gawn. Like, what are we doing here, Tommy? But I'm seriously considering it.
It might give me nightmares, mate. Honestly, I don't want to think about it too much. I'm going to lose some sleep. My boy Tim English is sort of coming back. He had not a fantastic start to his campaign, but he's looking good, and Cameron as well. We'll move it on, conscious of time and with the footy, starting in 8 minutes. So we better fly through this. Bailey Smith-McRae, no-brainers for me. Kennedy has been playing so good for someone who couldn't get time in a midfield only last year in 2024. Gosh, he's making some people look silly. He's played so good for the Dogs, and as a forward, got to start. Your boy, Ross Marich. If anyone has one, again, the boys are looking for one, please. If they've got a spare, get it over. I've actually got the North duo in Parker and Simkin. They're both playing good time in the midfield, about 50% CBAs, in a really good matchup this round against Richmond. I think they could both play really well. And as I've mentioned, I've sort of faded Caleb Daniel because of Harry Sheasel going back. DR, you made a really interesting point before. If Sheasel's higher up the ground, that actually really could open up Caleb Daniel's fantasy potential again that we saw at the start of the year. So a little nerve-wracking. Horn Francis, I just can't not start him. His upside is just too much playing in the midfield without Rosie. And then your boy Philippou, I will say this. He's coming back off injury. He's not in my top 7 yet, but he will be for sure at some point this season. And I think it could be sooner than later because, wow, he's a freak when he's healthy.
Yeah, look, it remains to sort of be seen whether he's going to get midfield time this week because he didn't really last week. But he's coming back from a pretty serious injury. So expect it to happen sort of sooner rather than later.
100%. Yeah, you just need that time to sort of come back into it to get healthy. But look, fellas, these are my rankings. Hopefully they take me to the promised land. They haven't taken me yet. So look, if you are watching along, definitely make a couple of adjustments here and there off opinion. But what we're going to do now, let's look at your squads quickly before our games kick off. So whilst you get it up, I think you can just share the screen and I can sort of check you in here and check out my my rankings. Here we go. You've done exactly that.
Beautiful.
But if you could zoom in just a touch, that might be amazing so everyone can see. But what a squad this is. Talk us through quickly all the decisions here.
So this is my classic squad. So as we said, I've got Sinclair, Wangani, Milrow in there.
Loading up. Yummy. Love it.
Bowie Silver, Sheasel Gold, and then we'll round it off with Dale, Zorko, and Whitfield in the bronze. Two of your favourites here, 4 and 5, Dunkley and Green as platinums. Then we've got Dacos, Rosie, Liberatore over Bontempelli. I don't actually have a Bont, but I am keen to get on that matchup. And Zach Butters as well, who might end up becoming Jordan Dawson. If you think he's such a lock, Tom, Jordan Dawson could end up there.
Oh, don't say it, because so many people have come back and said, Tom, you have ruined mine.
Cherry and
I
Gorn.
don't want blood on my hands.
I've got Marshall in my starter squad. I don't know whether I want to take Gorn in Classic just to sort of hedge my bets a little bit, or whether I should really back in Marshall for both. And then in the forward line, I've gone with Keys, who's one you didn't mention there. I think he can score pretty well as that sort of high half forward against Collingwood. And then the rest were all in there as well.
Oh, it's good. Gives me a bit of confidence. I'm doing something right. That's great, mate. Great squad. And I think, some of the only differences, as you mentioned, Dale, you've got Butters in there with Liver. You're hedging your bets. I do that way too often, by the way. Like, I believe someone will be the highest scoring player, and I just go, you know what, for my other squad, though, I just want to cheer on the other player, because why not? But DR, take us through. You've got your squad here, your starter one, and she's looking good.
Oh, I'll just go through the starter because I know we are almost out of time, but I've gone with your Amon, Nick Martin, who've already discussed, Dale, who I know is close to the rankings there, Salem, your man's Bowie, but I've gone with Salem just for now, mate. The Lizard, really, it's because I just love watching this bloke run around. It just gives me really great entertainment. So I've always got to go with the Blakey. That's more of a fun type pick there. Lukey Ryan, I think, could be back. He's starting to get there with Jordan Clark playing well this season. I think he could start to come back. These guys, the big three, your Bont, Dacos, Butters, close to the three best midfielders in the AFL each and every week. I'm pretty much going to chuck those guys in. Huey McCluggage, I like the matchup against Melbourne this week. I think they may go to Lachie Neale, who may now become Jordan Dawson after listening to your great recommendation there, Tommy, number one. As I mentioned, my pod in Noah Anderson, the Noah Coaster, hopefully he can go well. I've gone with Sherry and Gorn at the moment. As I said, Marshall, maybe it's a really tough decision there. Mason Wood, Roscoe's boy against the Eagles, as well as Jack McRae. I think they'll score well. And then got a couple of Bulldogs boys in Kennedy and Sanders. And then Bolton as that high upside, really low floor, risky type pick. Keys, I know you had him, Roscoe. And the mini helmet, Caleb Daniel. I'm actually hoping that she's may even go down back, up forward to allow him a little bit more ball. So that is the starter squad for this week for me, mate.
Fantastic. Love it. And Ryan, McCluggage, firstly, speaking of, I think he's currently 15th in terms of highest average for midfielders for the year. So it's not even that left field of a pick. He's having a fantastic season. So I love that as a bit of a pod play, because normally you're looking at your Neil, your Dunkleys, but he definitely has the ability to be the highest scoring player in that game, for sure.
Yeah, and he can avoid a tag too.
That's handy, isn't it? Unlike someone else, old gold Shocky Neil. Yeah.
For sure. But I'll quickly take you through my squad, how I've distributed my salary cap across the Classic. I'm loading up on Sheasel. I'm going gold. I think he's going to play really well. I've only put a silver on Sinclair, Miller, and Whitfield because I do think they're all going to play fantastic. I've got some silvers in the midfield as well. Dunkley, because he's a safer player, I like to go a little lower in terms of salary cap. So I've gone bronze and bronze Bont. But as you can see here, we've gone gold and gold. I think this is a round for rucks. I'm hoping if those two are some of the highest scorers, especially with Sheasel as well, this could really set me up for a good round. And I've got Ryan Marich here. That's silver I spoke about. And you know all the other players. So that's how we're doing.
Looking very solid.
My squad feels so insignificant when I look at my Classic squad here. So I've got a lot of work to do, boys. A lot of work, I think.
Don't worry. Let me give you some confidence. I'm only 35 for the year as a GDS boy. Oh, gotta get that up, fellas.
I would be too displeased with that rank.
No, actually, I'm actually happy with it. I'm joking. I'm only kidding. But fellas, thank you so much for tonight. You've hopped on. Talking about Game Day Squad. We love everything that you're doing. So just for anyone that is new around here, that is watching from the Game Day Squad side, Ross, we'll start with you. How can everyone find you, all the great things you're doing as well in terms of fantasy?
So we are Third Man Up with Janeth, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. Got my sort of Twitter handle there at @third_man up. We also do the Swordplay podcast through DR's channel, Supercoach Swordplay with DR on YouTube.
Love it. And speaking of DR, why don't you tell everyone the exact same thing, mate? Where can everyone find you and all the amazing stuff you're doing as well?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you very much for having us on, mate. Been a long time coming for myself, and not second time for Roscoe, but really appreciate jumping on with you, mate. Always great to have a chat. And yeah, similar to Roscoe, obviously the Supercoach Swordplay podcast, run the YouTube channel with plenty of other content during the week. Want to really get into some GDS stuff, really commit to that on a weekly basis, which would be fun. And on Twitter, Supercoach_DR.
Love it. Again, fellas, thank you. Something that is a little exciting. We have some big news coming soon in terms of Game Day Squad for this season. We've got something cooking in the background that we'll be able to give a little more details on. But DR, it's going to be right up your alley, mate. I know you're going to smash it. And same with you, Ross. So again, thanks for your time. Hey, go enjoy the footy. It feels good to sort of not have a player in this because I don't have to stress, but I'll just be able to watch the beautiful game for what it is. So I'm actually a little excited about that.
Absolutely.
Alrighty, fellas. Thanks.